Welcome in here to a special live edition on Go Power Cat. Kansas State's 2026 football schedule is up. It's normal. There's no trip overseas. Big B. There's no Friday games. One bye week. I mean, this is how college football is supposed to be. And 2025 was an odd year for a number of reasons, but the way that schedule lined up, you played 4 games before your first bye, and one of them was in Ireland, and the other one was a Friday game on the road. This is a lot more normal. Nichols, Washington State, Tulane, the non-conference games, all right here in the Little Apple, and then Cincinnati on the road, and then you got your bye. And Big B, I think there's going to be a lot made about these first. I guess you could label it first 6 games, the first half of the season, let alone who you're playing. I think we can talk about those being winnable games, but when 5 of 6 are at home, you're gonna have to, including a bye week in there, you're gonna have to set the tone for the season and get off to a hot start, because later on as this season progresses, it's not going to get any easier for K-State.
Correct. Getting getting off to a good start is always important. But again, you got to make some hay. When you got 5 or 6 at home to start the season, that should usually set you up to have a at least a decent season. I think Kansas State's set up to have more than a decent season this year, to be quite honest with you, because they don't play. We'll dig into the minutia of the schedule, but they just don't play the top tier teams in the conference this year, unless you throw in Arizona State. But again, they're getting a new quarterback, but we'll see. But Houston, Arizona, okay, but no Tech, no BYU. I mean, the season sets up to, it could potentially be something special. Obviously, this is January, before the season starts, so there's a lot to get into. But yeah, it's starting off 5 or 6 at home, including KU. Yeah, you can set yourself up to do some good things.
It's been a while since K-State's had 3 games inside of Bill Snyder Family Stadium in the non-conference. Go back to last year, it was Arizona. Year before that would have been Tulane. 2023 went at Mizzou, and so 2022 is the last time K-State's had all 3 of these games at home, and it's not the most glamorous slate of games, but you know what? If you go 3-0, you go 3-0. You don't have to apologize for winning if you're able to do that in the non-conference. But like we saw, Big B, Tulane can come into this place and win.
Yeah, I mean, that was the thing. And Tulane made the college football playoff. Now, granted, their head coach is leaving, but they still made the college football playoff. And Tulane has not been a bad football team over the last 5 or 6 years. Now, coaching changes, they still kept moving forward. So that's the one thing that we have to be careful of, and I'm sure Coach will have them in the right frame of mind, is that program with transfer portal and NIL, all that stuff, when they went from Willie Fritz, they moved on. They didn't miss a beat. And again, they made the college football playoff this past year. Now, again, they'll have a new coach, but I would suspect they're still going to have a football team, football players. It's going to be a team that we can play. Washington State, we'll see, because I feel so bad for that program, Gills. They are just out in the middle of just nothing. I mean, just to be left behind, that is an awful feeling. So not glamorous, but definitely can test you. Let's just say that.
Sure. Yeah, that's fair. And Big B, and I'm trying to think back. I wasn't alive in 98, but I assume when you guys played KU, it was later in the year, right? This is, I think, 3 seasons in a row, it's been an October game against Kansas. And that's just college football now. Back in the day, it felt like this was always a later game. And Iowa State, we'll get to this schedule as we go, but Iowa State's the last game of the year. KU's in October. And you know what? That is what it is. The inner college football fan in me wants that to be a later game, but you know what? KU's coming up early again.
Well, and it was back then. The thing about it, we like these rivalry games, and there is no mistake about it that KU is a rival. They can't beat us, but it still doesn't mean that it's not a rival. When you start looking at college football and what they want, you know, even the Holy War with BYU and Utah, they don't even put that on the last game of the year. You would think that would be a game that's on the last game of the year, and it's not. But it's about TV and this or that. Kansas State Iowa State game, which again, it's just a better game because KU. I mean, how many years in a row they just can't beat K State? So it doesn't need to be one of these big time rivalry games late in the year that everybody's revved up for. Kansas State Iowa State has clearly been a much bigger rivalry game than anything KU has done. I mean, literally, there are seniors in high school right now that have never seen KU beat. And you could probably only throw out a handful, maybe 3 or 4 times that they've even competed with Kansas State on the football field, that the games have even been remotely close in their lifetime. So it just, I know it's kind of bashing KU, but who cares?
Big B's not afraid to do that, is he?
No.
You know what? Speaking of KU, TCU, Arizona State, those 3 teams are playing overseas in week 0. And hindsight's 2020, Big B. All 3 of those teams are having a bye week, immediately coming back from overseas. And I know this is focused right now. We're focused on 2026, but to have that bye week, or excuse me, to not have the bye week and keep things going. You know what? If Chris Kleiman could do it all over again, I think you probably take some time off after everything that happened in Ireland.
I do too, and you're right. Hindsight's 2020, and I know he got information from other coaches on what they did and what you should do. But the thing about it is, you should just look at the trip. I mean, think if you weren't playing football and you were just traveling and going over to Ireland, you would need a day to just, okay, I'm not going to do anything to recover. Much less, I played an entire football game. I traveled over. I got to travel back. And I got to get ready, in 6 days to play again. Should have taken the week off. There's no question. And again, we can sit here and criticize the decision, 6 months after the fact. But if you just look at what would I do, I would need at least and I didn't do anything. And I just went over there and traveled and didn't do anything. I would need a day of rest just to recover, even just from the plane ride. You just need a day of rest. So, yes, should have done it.
Even with how much Guinness I consumed, that alone, you need a week off from all the Guinness I had. But Nichols, Washington State, Tulane, those are the first 3 games, all here in Manhattan. You go to at Cincinnati, at Houston, versus Houston, and then versus Kansas. I mean, there really is, Big B, just sort of I understand some of these non-conference games won't be a walk in the park. And, Houston, we were talking before this, not bad, but there's a clear divide. The first 6 games and the second 6 games, not only with where it's at home and away, but the quality of competition is going to really start to take a tick up after the first 6.
Well, I would throw Houston in the higher quality of competition. Maybe if you replace them with Colorado, because Houston is really good and Houston's going to be really good again. So I would say you're right in as far as the first 6 games. And then, if you just combine the last 6 versus the first 6, then yes, obviously the bottom 6 are more difficult. But I would throw Houston in there in between. I know it's between KU and Arizona, or before KU and Arizona State, but I would throw them in there as possible. I don't know, landmines, because Houston's really good. That is not a game that K-State fans should just think. Well, I mean, heck, the last time we played them, how did it work out? So now granted, it was in Houston. I go, Houston won 10 football games this year, and they got everybody back. So I just wouldn't throw them by the wayside and just say, yeah, that's at home, we're going to win. I'm like, hold on a second. Houston's going to be a really good football team. But you are right, though, Gills. The second half of the schedule minus Colorado is going to be very, very difficult.
Glass half full, though, for that, Houston game. It does come after your bye week to add to that argument that first half is going to be more favorable. And then to add to the argument of the second half, maybe being a little tougher. Yeah, Colorado's maybe your easiest game, but that comes after a trip out to Arizona State. This game's probably going to kick off at 3 a.m. because the Big 12 likes to give us late times now. But Yeah, there's just a clear divide there, Big B, between the first 6 and the second 6.
Not even a question. Not even a question. You just start looking at it because TCU, while the coaching is what it is, the talent is always there at TCU. Arizona State's going to be good. Arizona is coming in. Iowa State. I don't think Iowa State's going to be great, but it's at Iowa State.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State is going to be much better than what they were this past year. Whether that's good enough to beat a Kansas State, I would say no. But yeah, there's a clear divide in the first 6 versus the bottom. Again, minus Houston. But I would say you still got to make hay. You still got to cap those first 6 games. Set Kansas State up to really do some damage this year, especially in the conference.
I do think this is all funny, Big B. You know this more than anybody with the Big 12. What we think of these teams now is probably going to be a lot different by season's end, but for the time being, I think we have a good understanding of these teams. But this conference is crazy, man, and I wouldn't be surprised if one of these teams who thinks going to be good just craps the bed, vice versa.
I mean, it happens every year. It happened this past year, and it especially happened 2 years ago, where teams that we thought was going to be last in the conference ended up winning the conference. So the same thing is going to happen this year. It's turned upside down on its head. However, just by looking at it, I mean, I think things are a little bit more defined this year, but with the coaching changes, who knows? You know, Iowa State, I think most people would pick to be middle of the pack. It could be either or with the new coach coming in. Same thing with Oklahoma State. Most people are going to pick Oklahoma State to be bad. May not be the case. They may take a turn and be in the upper echelon with a new coach, new philosophy, basically a brand new team. But it's a brand new team at Iowa State too. So you just don't know what's going to happen moving forward. But the Big 12 is crazy, man. It's just crazy. We think that Texas Tech is still going to be very good. We'll see.
Big B, our old friend Mike Tomlin, used to be the coach of our team. You remember it was during the COVID season. Somebody asked him about potentially playing like 14 games in a row or something because they had their bye week early. And he said, "We do not care." K-State is going to have 8 games in a row. And for a team that had 3 bye weeks last year, I know it's a new staff, some new players, but that's a stark difference with your body and just mentally the fatigue that can set in playing so many games in a row.
You are 100% right. 8 games can be difficult, but we saw, and here's another thing. We saw some attrition from Kansas State last year. You know, they ran into some injuries, and with roster limits the way that they are these days, that can be a problem. But we also saw rust coming off of some of these bye weeks. That for me, just you got to play the games. You got to play the games. It's one bye week. You can figure it out. You know, professionals do it all the time. I mean, and you could say, well, they're professionals. They're made for it. Hey, they always say a younger body, you know, can endure more. And that's kind of where I'm at with it. 8 games is tough. Not saying it's not tough, but you're still playing college football. So guys are going to be ready to play. You know, it's week to week. You get yourself ready, and then you just go.
Early candidate, Big B, for potential trap game for this team.
I mean, Cincinnati, because it's on the road, and if anybody hasn't been there, it's a tough place to play. Tough place to play. I think the first 3, they'll get by. The team's going to be ready to play Tulane. Okay, because the last 2 times when we lost, another time we basically probably should have lost. So the team's going to be ready to play against Tulane. I would say then after that game, then you have Cincinnati on the road, first conference game. Cincinnati, we'll see what Cincinnati has, but that's not an easy place to play. It isn't. It's a tiny venue. You're kind of boxed in there. They got a bunch of stuff around the stadium that just kind of makes you feel that there's more people that are at the stadium than there actually are. It's really loud. So that would be an early trap game for me. One I think we should win, you know, again, talking in January, but that would be the early trap game for me.
Yeah. Bye week coming up. maybe you start
Mm-hmm.
looking on the horizon of, okay, let's just get through this game. But
Yep.
it's college athletics, man. You can't let any, you can't look past any. And I think Colorado's intriguing just because it's the second of a back-to-back road swing. And I understand Colorado's not best team in college football, but win or lose at Arizona State, you got to hit the road once again. And, we really saw this last year in the beginning 4 games of the season. Like it just compounded everything, not only that kind of went wrong, lack of execution or a muffed punt, or it just kind of snowballed into a road game at Arizona. I know K-State wasn't playing back-to-back road games when it went to Tucson, but it just kind of all fell apart, you felt like, and they needed a bye week to kind of reset. And that 4 games I'm talking about, if you sandwich that into playing at Arizona State and then going at Colorado, you have a short week, less time to prepare. Your body's going to be tired, let alone that this comes after your rivalry game against Kansas. So maybe you get high from beating KU. Okay, you go beat Arizona State on the road. Maybe you think you don't stink. Well, Colorado's got a team.
Yeah, they do. And that would be the next one. You're exactly right after that, because while again, it's to be seen whether Colorado and Coach Prime want to put together a physical football team. So far, they have not done that. And again, our coach is saying he wants to live in physicality, and I believe every word that he says, because hell, he played that way, he coaches that way. So I believe that to a T. It's still it's a road environment, and Colorado's going to have some athletes out there. They're going to have some athletes at the quarterback, the wide receiver position. So all that's going to matter. But moving forward, or moving into that game, you're right. K-State could come off some momentum. You win a big game at Arizona State, and then the back off of that is at Colorado could be tricky.
Game number 1, Nichols. I mean, it's Nichols, but this is this is Colin Klein's. I'm gonna mess that up a lot with saying Chris Kleiman because they're both CKs, but this is his first opportunity to show that physicality, to prove to any K-State fan out there how this is going to go. And so to set the tone for not only this year, but your tenure in Manhattan. I mean, here we go. Like, I understand it's not a big game, but you got to win these fans over, right? They'll jump on you when you're winning, and when you lose, they'll jump off.
Absolutely. I mean, this is the first game of his tenure as being a head coach, period. So it's very meaningful in that way. And you always want to get the season off to a good start. And look, this is a team that K-State should run over. And I think that's what they would probably try to do. It's the game plan is probably going to be very vanilla, but you should have a team that no matter what, you could run 4 plays. You should be able to run those 4 offensive plays and just do whatever you want to and just show the physicality just to let everybody know, you know what? This is who K-State is right now. We are playing physical football. Not that K-State didn't do that previously. I'm not trying to say that, but there's levels to things. And I think this is just a new level of physicality of what we're going to do this year and in his entire regime.
John points out that Nichols was the first game for Kleiman in 19. See, that's why Kleiman was on my mind. He's on my mind for that. And that was a great game, right? I think Malik Knowles, like early on, got going, and you were like, okay, Chris Kleiman, who knows what's going to happen these next 6 years when he's coach, but he did a good job. He passed that first test. Big B, I wanted to ask you about a team like Arizona coming up north. Are you one to subscribe to the idea that a warm weather team playing in November in cold Manhattan, Kansas can have an impact?
100%. It matters. People that act like it doesn't matter, then if it doesn't matter, then why do people bring heaters on the sideline? That would be my whole thing. If playing in cold weather, it's just a mindset. Great. It's a mindset. Don't bring any heaters. Don't bring any heated seats. Don't bring any of that stuff. Just go out there and play football if it doesn't matter, if it's just a mindset. Don't bring any jackets for the guys. Don't do any of that stuff. Of course it matters. It absolutely matters. And if you're not used to it, and then going out there and playing in it, that is it's just totally different. And look, I don't need for it to snow that day. Don't get me wrong.
I don't want that
give
either.
Me some cold and wind. Give me something. Give me some sort of element out there, man. Absolutely. The colder, the better on that day.
Unless Abu Sama's playing and it's Iowa State, and you don't want snow.
Oh, yeah.
You don't want nothing cold. Give us sunny and 70.
Oh.
Damon comes in here, non-conference. Has got to be a priority much more than in the past. We need games to get up and build up experience for our depth. I'm a little confused, maybe not confused, but much more in the past. I'm not sure if non-conference games weren't a priority. Big B, are you picking up what I'm laying down or what Damon's laying down?
Well, I think what he's trying to say is that maybe he's talking about we need better games against better competition. On the flip side to that is you can only play if somebody's willing to schedule you.
Right.
And you can't make Alabama play you. You can't make a Texas or an OU or a Nebraska. You can't make those teams play you. And also Kansas State has to go into it looking – now, I say this all the time on Big 12 Insiders. If you want to be part of the upper echelon, you might have to take a 2-for-1 deal where you're on the opposite side of that. You may have to do that. You might have to take a 1-for deal where you don't get the return game. It's going to start coming to that. And so I get what Damon's saying is that, we got to upgrade the schedule a little bit. And we do. But at the same time, keep in mind, you still play in the Big 12. So that's it.
Yeah. Another avenue, and this isn't the point, but, I get it. Like Army was bleh, and Tulane the year before, Tulane here in Manhattan, Mizzou in 23, right? Like regardless of who you're playing, you got to win these games. And yes, what happens before Big 12 play kicks off does not define your season at all. Look at 2022, losing to Tulane at home didn't have any impact on winning a Big 12 title. Maybe it helped K-State's chances, woke them up a little bit and showed that they need to be a better team. But yeah, if you're not going 3-0 here, I think we'll all be pretty alarmed, Big B.
Absolutely. And again, you're right. It does not define your season by any means whatsoever. But to say that it doesn't have an impact, you'd be kidding yourself. So 3-0 has to be the mindset to start the season. And anything less than that, it's a disappointment. And last year we saw it. It just shook the team's mentality, and they never recovered. They literally never recovered from that Iowa State loss because I feel like they put so much into that game and so much emphasis into that game. And then when they lost, it was like, well, the season's over. When it wasn't. You still had plenty of opportunities to play good football. They never got over it. It never got over that hump, and it just festered and festered and festered. So to get off to a good start, I'm not saying it defines your season, but it can absolutely throw a monkey wrench into it that you don't need to do.
Yeah. You hit the nail on the head, dude. Like, you don't need me or you or anybody to explain it. Look at Army and look at North Dakota. Like that right there. Proof is in the pudding that what happened overseas, it certainly lingered.
Yes.
MHK comes in here. No conference opponents have a bye before playing K-State. Pierce 6 are on the road and 3 at home prior to K-State, including KU. Some favorable elements to the schedule. I mean, yeah, Big B, we knew who K-State was going to be playing. It was all just a matter of when, and really the only thing that matters today on Wednesday, the 21st, when this was official is, okay, who you're playing like a back-to-back away? When's your bye week? Who do these teams play before or maybe after if they're looking ahead? That's the only thing that really matters with today, Big B. We knew for a while who K-State was going to be playing, but these little intricacies can help or hurt your odds in the Big 12.
Absolutely. And it matters when. I mean, we even knew where, that for the most part, we knew where teams were going to be playing. It was just, okay, when do they happen on the schedule? So now that all of that has been figured out, that's good. And like you said, those little intricacies of, well, they don't have a bye before they play K-State, or they play away when they play or before they play K-State. That kind of stuff matters. Now, Does it matter on the field necessarily? Maybe not, but maybe in the psyche, who knows? And in the game of college football, you're looking for any edge. And if you can get a little bit of that edge is because a team had to travel twice or they don't have a bye, great. That's just better for us.
Yeah. Last year, K-State had 3 byes. K-State had 3 byes, but Oklahoma State and KU both had a bye week before that, before facing Kansas State. So the importance of having 3 byes was like, I don't want to say it was negated because in a vacuum, K-State's able to rest. But in terms of your opponent, it didn't mean much because of the way the schedule lined up with the rest of the Big 12.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing. 3 byes is too much. I mean, what are we doing?
College it was a weird season.
Should be ashamed of themselves having teams have 3 byes. That was just ridiculous. I mean, again, covering the Big 12, on Big 12 Insiders, there was only 2 weekends that every single team played during the season. Oh, 3 weekends, excuse me, that every single team played. 3 weekends. And I'm like, what is going on? I mean, there were some weekends, there were 4 games when you got 16 teams in the conference. It was absolutely ridiculous. So we shouldn't have that this year. I haven't gone through everyone's schedule just yet to say all of that. But the one thing about it is that the one bye is great. Like I said, the attrition that happened last year for Kansas State was a problem, but you just got to manage it. And everybody has that problem. It's not just Kansas State. Now, again, some could be worse than others. Don't get me wrong, but everybody's got to manage attrition. Injuries, unfortunately, are just part of football.
Big B, I think my game I'm most excited for is at TCU because I get to take a trip down to the DFW area and perhaps see my friend Big B.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll be there for sure.
Yeah.
First of all, TCU, it's a great venue. If anybody hasn't been to Armin, I think it's Armin C. Carter or whatever it is, the name of the stadium, it's a great venue. It looks way bigger than what it actually is, than how many people it actually holds. It looks like, and even sounds like when you're in there, that it's about 75,000 people. I want to say it's like 47 or something like that. So it sounds bigger. It looks bigger. Great venue. But they got a decent team. Again, I like K-State in this game. Again, we're so far out because we don't know. But the coaching, Colin Klein, I'll take Colin Klein over Sonny Dykes any day of the week. But it will be fun because, again, I get to see my main man, Ryan Gilbert, will come down and we'll chop it up a little bit.
Unfortunately, you got to see Fitz. Unfortunately, you got to see Fitz. And I'm excited. I mean, Cincinnati, you mentioned it. Like, my favorite part of any road trip is the environment of the game.
Yeah.
Say what you want about Salt Lake and Provo, whatever, but like Utah and BYU are awesome because they check that box of a lot of fans are there. Utah fans are raucous. BYU fans are politely kind. They're different,
Right.
but they're full. They're filled stadiums, and so Cincinnati should be fun. Just in that regard. I was just out in Tempe for hoops. Be nice to get back to Arizona State in October. Hopefully, there's some warmer weather than there was a couple weeks ago. I was really disappointed about that, but Colorado, it'll be a late night game, I'm sure. Under the lights. The last time K-State played there, Avery to Jace, should be a lot of fun to kind of keep that rivalry renewed. And yeah, at TCU, Big B, we can't wait to see you. And then at Iowa State, it's going to be probably negative 20 degrees in Ames because every time I go to Ames, it's freezing cold.
Yeah, I would imagine that's going to be a cold one. But I like the schedule. I mean, just at first glance, if you don't do a deep dive into everybody or anything like that, which we'll all do between now, we'll probably do it 100 times between now and the season starts. But if you just look at it and look what people have coming back, what they've done in the transfer portal, and you really look at it, then you're like, heck, this season may set up for Kansas State pretty well because there's a couple of teams losing quarterbacks, losing a lot of players, and you're like, we got a chance. And then that's the first thought that came to my mind is you look at the schedule. I'm like, K-State's got a real opportunity here. They do.
Yeah, all 6 games at home, I would assume Cats are going to be favored in. Road it's going to be a different story. Outside of Colorado, Big B, yeah, I mean, you're going to be tested. I'm not sure if I mean, right now there's so much can change, Big B. So much can change, but you might be dogs in like 5 or 6 games, maybe 4 or 6 on the road. So taking care of business at home. I like to say this with basketball. Take care of your business at home. Steal a few on the road. Now it's obviously different with football. You got to win more, but go on the road, win some games, and let the chips fall where they may, as long as you take care of that business at home.
Yeah, the 2 games for me, again, at Arizona State, at TCU, those would be the games that I would say for sure K-State would probably, and again, depending on how the season goes, because again, we're playing both of those teams later on. I mean, the end of October and in the middle of November. So you have no clue what's going on. But just looking at it now, you would say those 2 games are the games that they would be underdog in. The home game would be the Houston one. I would say they would probably be an underdog in that game. But everything else, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I think they'd be favored over Iowa State, even on the road, just based on everything. But those would be the 3 games for me, Gills, that I would say, because Houston, I think people are overlooking Houston. Houston's good. First of all, Houston was really good last year. And again, they have everybody back. And if you look at what they did in the transfer portal, Houston is going to, first of all, Houston's going to be a top 25 team to start the year. They're probably going to be in the top 17 to start the year. So I just keep my eyes on Houston.
Fair enough. Big B, I mean, we got a long offseason ahead, but we're going to blink and this season's going to arrive. So not only here on Go Power Cat, but a lot of this discussion revolves around the Big 12 and the opponents. And Mr. Hanley, there's nobody that's on top of the Big 12 as much as you, my man.
I try. I do my best, man. I appreciate you saying that, but it's, look, I've looked at Kansas State's schedule. I know some of the things as far as coming back from some of these other teams and what they've done in the portal. And again, the portal's still open, so it's still available to get people. But when you just start taking a real look at that and you're like, okay, what's what? And again, Kansas State, new regime, everything new. But the one thing is that most teams that get a new regime is they get a new quarterback. And Kansas State has the luxury of not only do they not have to get a new quarterback, the quarterback has worked with the head coach that's an offensive-minded head coach. He's worked for him or played for him before. So that works. That you don't usually get that. That works in our favor. So that's why I say Kansas State has a real opportunity with this schedule, Gills.
Outside of Chris Kleiman and family, I think Colin Klein is probably the human being that's most familiar with Avery Johnson because he's just recruited him, spent some time in Manhattan. These guys know each other, and can't tell me that wasn't a big reason why Avery wanted to come back.
You can't. I mean, of course it was, and because I said it along when Colin's name was brought up, which is basically almost immediately, even though athletic director said, oh, we haven't even called him. Okay. And then the next day he was hired. Having said all of that, I said it then. I said, I don't begrudge Avery for looking around or trying to find out, hey, what can I get? Where can I go to try to get better? All those things were literally coming to him at Kansas State. Better offensive system, better offensive coaching, all those things that he would be looking for to try to get himself to the next level, to become a quarterback than what he is. Those were coming to him versus him having to go out there and seek it other places. Plus, it's somebody that he's extremely familiar with. Those were all advantages for Avery Johnson.
Question marks are going to be on the roster, but quarterback, I don't think anybody's going to be unfamiliar with Mr. Johnson. I appreciate you joining me, Big B. Fun stuff. And basketball season still in full swing, guys. K-State hoops finally got its first win of Big 12 play, and a big one's coming up on Saturday. Big B is K-State host KU.
I say this all the time. KU could be the best. Let me not say the best that they could be, but KU can always be very, very good. And when they come to Bramlage, they have problems. They have problems. We've seen that over the last 15 years. It doesn't matter. They come into Bramlage, and K-State gives them everything they have. I wouldn't suspect anything different on Saturday.
Say what you want about Jerome Tang. You're free to have your own opinion, but he's never lost to the Jayhawks inside of Bramlage Coliseum. So should be a lot of fun. Like you said, Big B, we've got a lot of time from now until September 5th to break down this schedule, but appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll talk to you real soon.
Thank you for watching GoPowerCat.com's PowerCat Podcast. This has been a GoPowerCat.com and Spirit Street production.